Hey, welcome back to the Dave Elliott Show. Glad to have you on board. It is a Thursday, a little bit rainy out there, but nonetheless, we're here for you. And I hope you can stick around because we have a fascinating conversation we're about to have with a number of people on a subject that is probably important to you, and you may not even know it. Joining us on the phone right now is our good friend Bob Weiner, General Barry McCaffrey, and Dr. Karlin, who are joining us today to talk about two things, pill mills and pain management. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, my gosh, I feel like we're having a committee meeting here.
Yeah, exactly.
This is wonderful. Let's start with Bob. Bob, would you do a little intro on this for us, please?
I'm going to let General McCaffrey take over here, if it's okay, Dave. Go ahead, General.
That's fine, yeah.
Dave, the bottom line is today we're having what we think is a very consequential meeting. A lot of representatives from state government to discuss the concept of pain management. So we're going to be out at the National Pain Institute, Dr. Jeff Zipper and others, talking about one of the major problems in healthcare facing Americans, more than 100 million of us suffering pain, 2/3 of it chronic pain, and what can you do about it? And the answer is a lot, and that's the subject of our briefing this morning. Dr. Barry Karlin, the president, CEO, chairman of Prospera, is going to try and build throughout the country the capacity we need to deal with this problem.
Now, we have Florida's, and you're in Florida today, it's important to point out. Florida is known throughout the country as sort of the pill mill capital of the United States for all intents and purposes. And people, I guess, are feeling like, the only way they can get the kind of treatment they need for chronic pain is to doctor shop or go to these pill mills. Do you have a plan, Dr. Karlin, for how you'd like to see this handled?
Yes, we do. And I should say at the outset that Florida, in the last couple of years, has done an absolutely fantastic job of reducing the pill mill issue. And the key here is to open up pain management centers which are focused on minimizing the use of medication and focusing on the proper way to treat pain. And what that means is evaluation and management, interventional procedures, a much more holistic approach, nutrition, physical therapy, acupuncture, functional restoration, and again, as I said earlier, reduce the use of medication. And we're very proud that the National Pain Institute, which is the largest pain practice in Florida, is very much in that vein, and the use of medication is absolutely minimized. In fact, they don't even allow the use of OxyContin, which, as you may know, is the single most prevalent drug that's used in pain management. So
I would think one of the biggest challenges that you have then is getting the word out to those people who might be suffering that there are alternatives other than Oxy or some of the other abused drugs.
Yes, that's a very good observation. In fact, what I would highly recommend is that people call, if I may, 866-951-PAIN to talk to a pain expert. But there are many, many alternatives to the use of medication, and in fact, they're much more effective. All the medication does is mask the pain, but in fact, it doesn't address the underlying cause. So again, 866-951-PAIN, and a huge focus of Prospera Pain Care is exactly that, to reach out and let people know, educate people, there are good alternatives.
What exactly will you be announcing at the press conference today?
Well, first of all, probably the most important aspect of this conference will be having patients speak to the issue. And Dave, I've consider myself almost a student now of people like Dr. Jeff Zipper. But the bottom line is, you'll encounter people that have been in chronic pain for 10 years. They've lost their life, essentially. Some of them have been in bed largely for a couple of years.
Wow.
And they come in, and with this multidisciplinary approach, which Dr. Karlin just addressed, it's not just medication, although that remains an important adjunct to it. But it's physical therapy, it's wellness training, it's tools like art therapy and yoga and stress management. People regain their life, they get back to work, back to their family, help is possible. And I think that's the most important message for your listeners. If you're in trouble, call into that number or go on ProsperaPainCare.com and get assessed. Something can be done to help you.
And, of course, that is ultimately the message. What do you say to people who, quite frankly, are maybe hooked on some of these drugs, these OxyContins and the various other substances? What do you say to them, Dr. Karlin, about they may not? I mean, obviously they know they have a problem.
Absolutely, an incredible number of people have become habituated to painkiller medications. When they come in, what happens is the first thing that occurs is they get put on a medication management program, essentially titrating them down from their present habituation to a very low level of pain medication. And absolutely, there is a place, as Barry mentioned a moment ago, for a modest use of pain medication. So this does not mean that no pain medication is appropriate. Titrate them down, and then concurrently put them on a program involving all the things we talked about, interventional procedures, physical therapy, a much more holistic approach, multidisciplinary in nature. And the scientific evidence shows this is the best way to treat pain, and it's overwhelming. Everyone can be helped. You just have to make that phone call and get into a program, and wonderful things happen.
And this may seem like a mundane question, but I'm sure there are people listening who will be asking this. What about insurance coverages for some of these alternative therapies that you're discussing?
Most of it is covered. Certainly, interventional procedures is covered. Evaluation and management is covered. Physical therapy is typically covered. Certain plans will cover behavioral psychology, which is an important component because the brain is a very central organ in the whole pain management process. The brain, of course, is the ultimate organ which determines the level of intensity of the pain signal that you experience. So some plans may or may not cover in full behavioral psychology, and then you have to work something out with the pain management company. Of course, self-pay is always possible. Right. But usually there's some degree of coverage, and that's something that typically a pain management practice, a high-quality practice, will work out with the patient. A
thorny issue, to be sure, and a complicated one, and I applaud all of you for addressing this tough issue, particularly an issue that's important to the number of people over the age of 60 here who live in Florida and in Southwest Florida. Dr. Barry Karlin, General Barry McCaffrey, and Bob Weiner, thank you for joining me this morning.
Good to be with you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time. It's 7:28 on the Dave Elliott Show, and fascinating stuff, really. That number, by the way, is, if you want to call that number again, to find out more about alternative pain management techniques or methods or treatments, you can call 866-951-PAIN. That's 866-951-PAIN.